Hello and welcome back to another video in EssayMaster's Law School course. In this video, we're going to talk about your addendum and character fitness questions. Let's get right to it. Your addendum and character and fitness questions are where you can address any academic, professional, or personal shortcomings in your application. While your personal and diversity statements are meant to tell stories to give a sense of your whys, these essays are much more straightforward. Do you have any glaring weaknesses, gaps, or blemishes? If yes, be prepared to discuss them honestly. I generally find breaking it into the aforementioned three categories is best. Academically, do you have a low GPA? Maybe a C or lower anywhere on your transcript? Maybe you had to take a leave of absence one semester. Professionally, do you have a gap of over 3 months on your resume somewhere? Did you unexpectedly get terminated from a job? And personally, have you ever faced misconduct or criminal charges? While none of these are automatic deal breakers, how you have responded to them will matter significantly. And when you're writing these, what to do is really simple. Be honest, take ownership, and show growth. There is no sugarcoating honesty. If the prompt asks for it and you did it, just say it. Now, some schools will say something like excluding traffic violations or excluding expunged charges. And if that's the case, then great. You don't have to worry about it. But whatever the school wants, just be honest. Taking ownership is as simple as admitting fault and not blaming anyone else. You are the person who is having to write about this, so you're the person who needs to own it. And finally, the reason that these aren't automatic deal breakers is because if you show genuine growth and awareness, the committee will often understand. After all, they're people too, and they've made mistakes. However, doing any of the following will make those same people turn on you very quickly. First, while we definitely understand there are situations where authority abuses its power or someone made you take the fall, or you are otherwise not at fault, in such spots, we still do not recommend blaming others. Even if you are 100% right that someone else is at fault, there is the risk that admissions committees will not know that or that they won't believe you. So in such spots, just state the facts. Another thing not to do, and this is pretty particular, but it's very important, do not ever say you are a bad test taker. Especially for T14 schools, it's way too competitive for a place like Stanford or Columbia to give you a pass because you're a quote bad test taker. If a freak accident happened, like you got in a wreck on the way to your LSAT test and this was your only chance to take it, that's one thing. But to say you don't do well on tests will pretty much result in your application also not doing well. Finally, don't say it doesn't matter anymore. Even if this is true in your day-to-day life, it's important enough to write about, so it's clearly important enough to discuss its meaning. Now, here's how not to write an addendum. This paragraph says, quote, though I only achieved a 2.8 GPA sophomore year, I had a series of unhelpful professors and was targeted in a campus raid for drinking underage. I stopped taking courses with those professors and had all charges dismissed. I have otherwise achieved a 3.6 GPA and believe this incident has no bearing on my potential. If I were to write an addendum that violates all of our rules, save for the one about not saying you're a bad test taker, this would pretty much be it. Blaming, quote, unhelpful professors and saying you were, quote, targeted is a really terrible look. While saying, quote, this incident has no bearing on my potential may work within the context of someone taking ownership, it certainly does not here. Because of the lack of growth shown, this addendum may actually hurt the applicant as it risks showing immaturity. On the other hand, here's how to write an addendum. It reads, quote, a couple of weeks before final exams, I stole a neon sign from a food vendor's truck. I was in the wrong and I remedied my actions by completing 20 hours of community service and worked a full week for the food truck vendor. As a result, I now take more caution in my actions and make sure to respect others' property. First, look at how honest and straightforward this is. There's no blaming others, there's no embellishing or diminishing anything, it's just the facts. They admit their fault and they talk about working at the vendor to atone for their mistakes. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, they show growth. Although most addendums will be a little bit longer, we've actually seen addendums this short, and frankly, this may be all that you need. We recommend being thorough, but we don't recommend being overly verbose or storytelling like you would with your personal or diversity statement. So now that you've likely gotten all of your essays completed, in the next video, we'll go over the final steps you need to complete your application.